Golden Axe would fall under volume number 5 of the Sega Ages 2500 series. That would be classed as a remastered series of games that saw a release on the PS2 back during the mid-2000s. That will focus on bringing back and updating many classic entries that would have been really popular in the arcades and Sega consoles of the mid-80s and early 90s. So if you're like me and you're a child of the 80s and you grew up between that generation and the early to mid-90s, there's a very good chance that if you're a gamer that you would have played the classic Golden Axe on the Sega Mega Drive, or even say in the arcade. And for its time, it was considered to be one of the best side-scrolling beat-em-up games ever, and still is considered to be even to this day. It's one of the most iconic games ever made. This, alongside of Streets of Rage 2 primarily, or even the Streets of Rage series, are considered to be without a doubt the two best beat-em-up game series in existence that have inspired a multitude of different types of beat-em-ups, both 3D and 2D, over the years. So it's pretty cool to see Golden Axe getting that treatment. And this new version of the game that originally got its own individual release in Japan with these games under the Sega Ages series, the majority of games released under this series of games would have gotten their own individual ports or releases, but in other regions the games would have been kind of like catalogued or added towards more of a collection of games instead. And this game, how I got to play it originally, was part of the Sega Classics collection in Europe. They had a multitude of different games. There was Golden Axe, there was Outrun, there was Virtua Racing, Super Monaco GP, Space Harrier, Fantasy Zone, and a couple of other iconic games. So I remember when I got it, originally I wanted to buy it to play the games that were on it, but the two games I was excited most to play was Outrun and Golden Axe, because again I was a big fan of both of those games growing up. So it was interesting to see how it would fare out. And it is a decent attempt at a remake of the game, and it has some nice visuals for its time, although I will admit it's not as well put together in my own opinion compared to some of the other remasters that have been seen on the PlayStation 2. And if I'll be brutally honest, while it is a decent game in its own right, and it tries to kind of like retell the story and have some unique elements in it, and it is playable and it's very enjoyable, but for me it's nowhere near as good as the original game on the Mega Drive that I would have played growing up, because my first experience with the original Golden Axe would have been part of the Mega Games 2 collection, which for many of you that probably already know is a series of games that were released on the Sega Mega Drive as part of collections. So there was 3 different collections in total, with Mega Games 1 that had 3 games with Super Hang-On, World Cup Italia 90 and Columns, and Mega Games 2 had Streets of Rage 1, Golden Axe and The Revenge of Shinobi, and then Mega Games 3 would have had Alien Storm, Super Monaco GP and Super Thunderblade, which again were across the board were a fantastic selection of games to have the opportunity to play. Now for me personally, the Mega Games 2 collection, I'm sure many of you agree, is probably the best of the trio of collections that were available for the Mega Drive around that time. But the chance to play the likes of Streets of Rage 1 and to have Golden Axe on the same cartridge to be able to play was unbelievable. And I remember getting to play that, and myself and my brothers and my mates. I remember the first experience was with the game was a mate of mine had gotten a loan of the Mega Games 2 collection, and he took it round to our house one weekend when he was staying over, and we literally sat the whole weekend playing between Golden Axe and Streets of Rage, and myself and my brothers were just absolutely addicted to the two games. Now for me, if I was to pick between the two, I love Golden Axe, but I prefer Streets of Rage. I just love the Streets of Rage series, but we always had debates over the years, myself and my brothers, as to which was the better games. Some of my brothers actually prefer Golden Axe, whereas I prefer Streets of Rage. So it's just a matter of, or it's just really down to a difference of opinion really in terms of which is the better game. But they're both equally as great. They're just both fantastic entries. So even getting to play the modern version of it, while it is good, I still think that the original is still better in every sense of the word, and I'm sure many of you watching this video will agree. It does keep with the same kind of nostalgia elements and does throw in a few other additional features, but it's still a worthwhile entry and it's still very good. The only difference is that sometimes the controls, because again with it being in 3D, can be quite clunky and sometimes unresponsive, and it can lead you to being completely just mauled by the enemies, leaving you to not really have a chance to fight back at times, as the computer AI can be quite aggressive and quite cheap in terms of their behaviour patterns and how they attack you, leaving you just being bombarded with attacks left, right and centre, and sometimes it just requires pure luck in order to get out of a conflict. Sometimes you just, if you have access to your magic, that you use that instead, and that hopefully should get you out of a pinch if you're lucky. So it can be quite frustrating at times in that sense. But it doesn't take away from the game. It's still a fun entry, and it's still a worthwhile experience if you want to get to play Golden Axe again from a whole different perspective. It's worth playing, but it's just not as good as the original in my opinion. But I would love to know your thoughts on this version of Golden Axe, if you have played it, or even are you just a fan of the original games released on the Mega Drive or in the arcades, or even on the Sega Master System. So I would love to know your thoughts of this game, so be sure to share it down in the comments below. And if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be updated of future videos. And if you would like to see more content around other types of remastered games that were also released on the PS2, then you can check out the playlist on screen to see more of those games in action. And I will see you all in the next one.